Hi guys, so this is going to be a life update slash where have I been for the last 6 or 8 weeks. If you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, my Facebook is currently, well, it's there, but stuff won't post to it for whatever reason. So you probably haven't seen anything there since like November or October of last year. But if you watch me or follow me, sorry, on Twitter or Instagram, the absence is probably a lot less noticeable because sorry, my ring's sticking into me, because I have been able to post my daily gratitude post every day because I'm doing my 2017. Hello, Casper. You have to get out of the way of the camera, please. My 2017 gratitude challenge is a photo a day of something I'm grateful for. Casper, what are you doing, my honey? This right here is one of the reasons why I continue to keep going is because of my Casperni. Yeah, so for 2017, I have these gratitude photo challenges that I'm doing from online. And so every day you post a picture of something you're grateful for, and it tells you what category for it to be in every day. So I've been posting that, and I've also been able to post my weekly transformation updates. I have not posted on YouTube though since about 6 weeks ago. So I haven't done my January or my February gratitude video. I haven't done my January or my February transformation video. Here in a couple of weeks, my March ones are going to be due. I attempted to do, I taped 2 days of vlog with the hope, I have no idea what's going on, there we go, with the hope of showing kind of what it's like to live with a chronic illness, chronic pain, and chronic mental health. And I was going to put those together in 1 or 2 vlogs and post them, and then kind of do my monthly ones, so it would kind of fill up. Like there'd be about one there a week, and that did not happen. My vlogs together were just over 3 hours. That shouldn't surprise me. I've done them before. You know, you tape everything you're doing, and then here comes Casper again. And then you have to, of course, cut to make it into the vlog. I know this, but it just completely and utterly overwhelmed me, and so I just didn't even do anything with it. I have started to work on them of late, like the last couple of days, but when I first did it, I couldn't handle even thinking about how to break them out. So the kind of 4 areas that things have been going on is my physical and my mental health have been absolute shit lately. I was laid off from my job without properly being laid off. And then there's some issues going on with my Grammie. So if you guys don't know, if you're new or if you just haven't seen those videos, my husband and I are my Grammie's power of attorney and our next of kin and all those wonderful things. My Grammie lives on the East Coast. I live on the West Coast. So it's been a struggle to get her into a care facility since my grandfather passed away through almost 4 years ago. So she did get into one, which is very, very great. I'm going to see her as soon as I can. I'll be seeing her in August anyways, but I'm hoping to see her before that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's the hope. So that in itself is awesome. But right around the same time, my grandmother was assaulted again. So that, not good. My grandma was put in the hospital and she could have died. So that's not good. So that's kind of the 4 areas that things have been going on, and life has just been getting away from me. So to do with my physical health, my numbers in my blood work for my Cushing's, my cortisol is through the roof, like more than even what it should be with the stress that I'm under, and more than what it should be with my mental health not being stable. It's like crazy numbers, and so are all the numbers in relation to whatever this blood disease I have is. My iron is like below anemic. My sugars won't stabilize. They were running high for a little while, so they put me back on metformin, and I was back on metformin for just a couple of weeks, and then I went so low I ended up at the hospital, so they took me off of metformin. Then they put me on insulin, but they put me on a set amount of units in the morning with breakfast, lunch, dinner, and at night. And that, over the course of 2.5 weeks, made me go so low I ended up in emergency. So now I'm not on anything. I've asked the endocrinologist, can I try doing it by carb intake again? Because that's what I did right before I went off of insulin, like 6 years ago. Based on the amount of carbs I took, and I'd have to learn the whole formula again, but based on the amount of carbs you take into your body, you take insulin for it. Kind of the same way if you watch anyone on YouTube that talks about bolusing for their carbs, if they have insulin pump, it's the same thing, but similar thing, but you're giving yourself injections based on how much carbs you take. And then before, I would take that's the short-acting insulin, so it's helped to break down the carbs, and then I would take a set amount of long-lasting insulin like overnight, and then if I was going to work out, stuff like that. But other than that, I would take it based on what I ate. And so I've asked the endocrinologist if I can do that, and they're not really sure they like that idea. They don't like the idea of me not being on anything because my numbers are so wacky and they don't know why. So I'm like, well, wouldn't it make sense to at least try it? But anyways, right now I'm not on anything. My pain is extremely bad. They have doubled my pain medication and it did nothing, so I'm back down to the original amount. Like, why would I take all this extra medication into my body to rip my stomach apart and rip my bowel apart and interfere with my colitis if it's not going to help? Probably the only good thing that's happened is that I did get my implant in my tooth, so most of my tooth pain is gone. Hopefully it will stay away. I had a lot of problems with my tooth previous to getting the implant. My tooth had abscessed almost 3 years ago, and it took me all that long to be able to get it. Well, first the infection was too much in my mouth, then because it was a baby tooth abscess, then they said, it's going to take way more space to figure out how to fit it and all that stuff. It took a very long time, but I finally got that. So my tooth pain is down, so that is one. But for my other physical health, I'm pretty much struggling every single day. So lots of problems with migraines and headaches, and we're not sure exactly what that's from. Although I did have a sinus infection a month ago that I refused to acknowledge, and I ended up putting myself in the hospital. But we'll get to that in a second when I talk about my mental health. So lots of headaches, lots of tons of jaw pain. Tons of endometriosis pain, so that's pretty much whole body because I have tissue throughout my whole body. So it's just been shit. And I'm trying every day to be active, but that is very, 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 very difficult. That's proving to be an almost impossible task, but I keep trying. This blood disease that I have, I saw I've seen 3 specialists in the last 2 months, but I saw the last one just last week and I lost my shit. So essentially, if you guys don't know, my blood counts started going wacky almost a year ago now. And I was getting them tested regularly because of the fact that I'm anemic. Well, like I said earlier, those numbers are even lower than they were, even though I get iron infusion every 2 weeks. So who even knows what's going on with that? So there's something else going on with my blood. My white blood cell count is naturally high because I take lithium, and so that naturally elevates it a little bit. Plus, because of some of the disorders I have, that naturally elevates it a little bit. That's kind of like my inflammation markers. Those are naturally elevated. They're about a quarter more than what they should be. My white blood cell count is about, I think, a third more than what it should be between the lithium and some of the chronic illnesses. Well, my white blood cell count is triple what it's supposed to be. My red blood cell count is pretty much non-existent. All those other ones in there, they're all low. The hemoglobin, all that stuff is low. Yeah, so they've been sending me to all these specialists. And so for the last not like for about 9 months, it's like, oh, well, Nicole, be glad you don't have leukemia. Well, yes, I'm glad I don't have leukemia. Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. I'm 100% glad I don't have leukemia. I have a history of cancer, both in my family and personal. So yeah, the fact that I don't have, or I've never had leukemia, but the fact that I don't have cancer again, that overwhelmingly thrills me. Obviously, I don't want to go through cancer. However, cancer is only one of how many different things that could be wrong with my blood? So anyways, that's been really frustrating. And then 2 months ago, I went to a different specialist because they thought it could be connected to my endometriosis, which is connected to the Cushing's, which is connected to everything. And essentially, based on how much blood I lose, not to be too much TMI, but that my iron has just got so messed up, and that is affecting all the other numbers. But that doctor ruled that out. And I can't remember what that disease is called. Something hypertension, I think. Anemic hypertension. That doesn't sound right, but it's something like that. Anyways, it's connected to female cycle and then having Cushing's and having all those endocrinologic problems. But anyways, it wasn't that. So I go to this other doctor who's just this young guy, and like, I'm okay with young doctors, absolutely. Like, obviously we have to get doctors young for them to get older, right? And I trust that every doctor, every specialist I'm seeing is properly trained. I live in Canada. There's no reason why they wouldn't be. But this guy, I think, was just a jackass. And I'll tell you why. It's because I feel he looked at my history. So if you look at my history, like my life history of kind of diseases I've had and life struggles I've been through, you will see that for almost 20 years I lived a high-risk lifestyle. I did drugs. I lived on the street for part of that time. I was involved in things that are not legal. I was involved with some very bad people. I just made a ton of poor choices. And so what this guy wanted to tell me and make sure that I was so happy that this wasn't the case, and don't get me wrong, I am happy this isn't the case, but the way he approached it was ridiculous. Well, I just want to let you know that your high-risk lifestyle hasn't resulted in you getting any bloodborne diseases. And I was like, so what you're telling me is the reason why I've waited all this time to see you, and the reason why I'm sitting here before you is for you to tell me that I don't have HIV, I don't have AIDS, I don't have Hep B, and I don't have Hep C? That's what you're telling me. And he's like, yep. And I was like, can you tell me anything else? No. He's like, you should just be lucky that all those bad choices that you made didn't result in you dying. I said, excuse me? Excuse me. That is not okay. And that's when the advocate in me came out, because that pisses me off. I took that and it hurt me, but I was able to go home and talk to my husband and process all that shit through and process the fact that, oh my God, it's very true. I could have died of one of these things, whatever. But if I was someone like the people I work with, the people I work beside to try to help change their lives, that would have crushed them. Or not all of them, because some of them are very, very strong. But that could have potentially crushed them. Or forced them to be like, you know what? If a doctor thinks that all I'm good for is to use drugs, I'm just going to go back and use drugs. Or if all I'm good for is just to get myself a bloodborne disease, I'm also just going to have some unprotected sex. No! Don't act like that. Like, you can say, okay, so some of the things we've ruled out is, as you know from the other doctors, we're not seeing any signs of leukemia. We've tested you for bloodborne diseases as well, and other STIs, because they tested me for a shit ton of stuff. That's all come back clear. But your numbers are this or that or whatever. I'm not really sure we're going to go from there. Like, there's a way to say that, even if you have that judgmental asshole mentality, there's still a way to say it and stay professional. And he wasn't professional. And I have, talk to the College of Physicians and Surgeons. God only knows if it's going to do any good. But saying, like, he did not have to approach that like that. Now, I am grateful that the life choices I made did not result in a long-term disease. 100%. But not everyone living with HIV, AIDS, Hep B, Hep C, other bloodborne diseases made high-risk decisions. There's people that live with those things for all different hosts of reasons. And they don't need to be reminded Like, it just pissed me off. So I still don't know what's wrong with my blood. So now I'm going back to the original hematologist who's upset that I got upset with this other guy. So I'm at like pretty much a standstill. And when I talked to him on the phone earlier this week, he's like, oh, but at least you don't have leukemia. And I'm like, I want to punch you in the face. Like, yes, I'm glad that you've ruled out 5 or 6 different diseases. But if I go on the computer and look at the Mayo Clinic, which I try not to do, if I do look at stuff about medicine, I do typically look at the Mayo Clinic because it's a reliable source, or John Hopkins. But if I go there and look at blood diseases, there's pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. So essentially 6 have been ruled out. Because I don't know if any of the STIs would be considered bloodborne diseases. But all they've ruled out is all STIs, HIV, AIDS, Hep C, Hep B, and leukemia. And it's been a year. And I'm getting worse. And my numbers are getting worse. And I'm feeling worse. And the whole thing is just shit. So I don't know where that goes. But that's kind of the update on that. And that falls into my mental health. My mental health has been fucking out of control. Excuse my language. But it's just been ridiculous. Just depression. Anxiety. Something else that I tried to do and I really wanted to be a part of this year was the Bell Let's Talk campaign. I tried to do little mini videos about all the disorders that I have and what it's like just in general living with mental health. And that fell flat on its face, even though I spent 3 months preparing it. Excuse me. So now what I've decided, I've been watching this YouTuber, I love her, the Bipolar Barbie, and she just kind of candidly sits down and talks about different things that she's struggling with at the time, or things that she has struggled with mental health. And I think that's what I'm going to do. Like, I have made a list of kind of some of the things I'd like to talk about, but I think it needs to happen more organically. But it just pissed me off that I wasn't able to get those Bell Let's Talk. Like, I really wanted to be part of that campaign. So I tried to text and email and do all the hashtag stuff as much as I could that day to help them raise money. I posted a whole bunch of mental health stuff on my YouTube, my Twitter and my Instagram, just to try to be a part of it. But like, a lot of stuff has been creeping back up for me. Things that I thought were in the past, i.e. self-harm. When I was young, I used to self-harm, but no one could see that I self-harm, or mostly no one could, because I used to cut and burn my calves. Or sorry, not my calves, my thighs. So no one could see it unless they were in an intimate situation with me. And for most of my teen and early 20 life, people didn't notice because they were too fucked up on drugs, just like I was, to see that there was anything going on. Nor did they give a fuck if they saw any cuts or burns. What they cared about is if they could get what they wanted from me, let's be honest. So that behavior ended. In around the time I stopped using drugs. So February 9th was 14 years of me stopped using drugs. So I'm going to say within probably 6 months of that. But the thing that I've struggled with ever since is because I have food sensitivities, which if anyone's seen my channel at all, they know. I have a lot of food sensitivities, and some of them will kill me, like peanuts if I eat peanuts. But other things like apples give me migraines. White bread makes me have extreme stomach pain because I can't process it, or I can't digest it. So what started happening is I started eating things, not that would kill me, but things that would hurt me. And so I went into this whole cycle of self-harm. And when I was telling my psychiatrist about it, he's like, yeah, you have been self-harming. And then I was just really physically sick all the time, and I was trying to take the emotional pain and make it physical. And for the first little while, it took my husband a while to realize that I was doing something to myself, because I was so physically sick, and I still am, because of all the physical stuff that was going on. And because of all the physical stuff and the doctors adding more medication, that flared up my colitis, which gave me like bad stomach, bad bowel movement, sick to my stomach, throwing up, nausea, all those things. So it took a while for him to realize, wait a second, if it's this bad, then you should be going to the hospital. And then I had to admit to him that at that time, I was eating a lot of white flour. And then, I was eating apples and drinking apple juice so that I would get a severe migraine and I would have a reason to be in bed because I couldn't justify to myself, why do I not feel like getting out of bed? Like that's one of my biggest telltale signs. Even when I'm sick, like if I have a cold or whatever, or even if I'm just struggling with my depression, the biggest thing is can I get up? Can I get a shower? Even if I don't eat, I put clean pajamas on and I go back to bed, at least I got up and I showered because hygiene is so paramountly important to me. Partially because of some of my OCD traits, partially just because I like to feel clean. So if I don't do that part, I know that that's a sign to myself that, okay, things are starting to slip. And so that started to happen as well. So then I went to the psychiatrist and I told him everything that was going on in my life and with work, which I'll get to in a second. And just everything was sliding out of control. So he put me on medical leave through the government. Through EI, employment insurance, just sick benefits, so I could take a break from my work, which helped some, but was still very stressful, just because I don't want to be home all the time. Like, I like being home sometimes and working sometimes, like having a bit of a flex schedule. I love that, because that also sometimes gets in the way of making videos, which frustrates me, but sorry, buddy. He had my knee all twisted. But I need to work. And I said that to my doctor at the time, and he said, I agree, you need to stay active, and if work is what you want to do, that's fine. But the only way to get you out of this horrible situation that you're in with your work is to put you on leave, because they can't do anything if you're on medical leave. So that brings me, because that was very brief. I'm going to try to do breakout videos on each of these things, but that's very brief about what's going on with my mental health. Well, so now I'll tell you what happened at my work. Sorry, I'm drinking so much. My mouth has this whole process since Christmas. My mouth has been so much drier than normal. And I've also been talking for 22 minutes, so that would explain it too. So at my work, I was in one of the youth programs. There was 3 youth programs. They brought on a 4th. Shortly after the 4th program came in, we started talking about collapsing the funding into 2 programs. So I was teaching life skills and job readiness skills, 21-week program. There was just a life skills one, which was 15 weeks, I believe. There was work skill long-term one, which was 18 weeks. Then there was a quick in and out, let's help you with your resume, let's get you some interview skills, let's get you out. And it was a month turnaround from when the youth came in, to when they were employed. So they're collapsing it down. And so of the people that were working there, there's only one person that was working in those programs less time than me. And originally they were saying only one person is going to get laid off, because 3 people were going to get laid off, but 2 people were leaving at the end of their contracts anyways. And that was one of the programs. That was the quick in and out program that was going to, the contract was going to run out soon anyways. So they were just going to leave, like the original plan was when they took the 18-month contract, and then one other person had to go. So the person that was there less time than me had one higher up position than me. Plus, she was the niece of our regional manager. So I was yeah, I'm not going to get that job. She's not going to get laid off over me. Although they said, because I'm qualified to do all the jobs in the program, they said the person with the least seniority. But I was pretty sure, right? And then we were off for a 4-day weekend. All of us, all the programs were, the youth programs were. Because we were supposed to do a 2-day training, a Friday, Monday training, and that didn't happen. So they just decided to, and the youth and all the programs already knew that they weren't going to be there during that time. So then agency decided to give us 2 extra paid days off because we get, our jobs can be fairly stressful and we don't get as much time. The contract had taken away a week over our Christmas and whatever. So I came into work on Tuesday morning and my office was boxed up. And I was like, oh, am I moving? And they're like, no, all the programs are shut down. Okay, all the programs are shut down. Where's my layoff notice? Because I'm laid off, am I not? Oh, well, HR will be in touch with you. Okay. Days went by and days went by and days went by. And then we came in one day. They told us to come in. We were there to lunch. Oh, you can go. And this is what I was talking about. No youth were there. And then, can I have back your keys and your cell phone and your parking dooflicky to get into the thing? Like, essentially everything. There, and I'm like, so I'm laid off? And they're like, no. And I'm like, so I'm fired? And they're like, oh gosh, no. Well, then what am I? And then it came down to, I don't know what the other girls did, but I called the labor board and said, what's going on? And so then they asked me to bring in all my pay stubs and all the stuff. And then the labor board realized I hadn't had a pay stub in 4 months because they weren't giving pay stubs properly. And just this whole big investigation had been launched. And they just recently wrapped that up and concluded that, yes, the contracts didn't come back. So, yes, we should have been laid off, but I should have been given notice. And I'm now entitled to a month's severance package, which I don't know if I will see or not, but they are fighting to do that. So that was really fucking stressful. Like, I have a job, I don't have a job. No, you do have a job, no, you don't have a job. Like, what is it? It had obviously a financial impact on me, and that is definitely concern, but that wasn't the biggest concern because I'm very lucky to be in a position where my husband's income pays for all of our bills. But so I wasn't in immediate financial distress, but like the thought, okay, well, do I go get another job? What do I do? Anyways, the whole thing just made me just contributed way too much to my stress level and my illness. And so, yeah, I still don't know what's going on with that job. One of the youth, I actually saw them the other day, and they said that they got a call back saying that the program's restarting, but they don't want to go. Because they don't know what happened either. They didn't get paid. Like, I was getting paid, but not pay stubs, and I wasn't getting paid properly in the last probably 2 months. The youth in my program got paid, except for they didn't get paid for 3 pay cycles, so for 6 weeks. And we're bringing in youth who don't have any form of income, other than if they're on, like, government assistance, like welfare, to help them break that cycle. But most of them have absolutely no income. So this program becomes their income because they get paid minimum wage and then get paid for 6 weeks. So none of them are in any too quick of a position to be wanting to go back to the agency. So that was that, and that it's shit, and I'm still fighting and whatever. Excuse me. And so the last thing I guess to update on is my Grammie. So, like I said at the beginning, my husband and I are her power of attorney, her executive, her estate, her next of kin, all that stuff. We have that for my grandfather as well. So we've been fighting with the government back home to move her into a care facility. She doesn't need to be in a nursing home, but she needs to be somewhere where there's staff all the time. Especially since my grandfather died, although the last probably 4 years of my grandfather's life, he was so much of the Alzheimer's had taken over. But the thing is the time that she fell when they were living in their apartment after my grandfather's dementia got really bad, and also the time that she couldn't get out of bed because she was so sick. My grandfather knew to push the lifeline button. They have those, or she doesn't have it anymore because she's in the care facility, but the button you wear around your neck that you push and it sends an ambulance. He knew to do it those 2 times. So he was a bit of a protective factor for her, which I'm glad he got to die or pass in that way. Not that it helped him any because he didn't know who she was, but it helped my grandmother to remember the protective husband, that protective factor that he had always built around her. So that was very beautiful. But anyways, he passed away June of 2013. So she's been on her own up until a month ago. And we get the call, and you have 24 hours to accept the placement. You have 72 hours to move the person in. So I accepted the placement because I was very particular about what placements I put on the list of ones that she would take. In working with my Grammie and knowing what my Grammie wanted and what she likes to do. Like, she's playing cards and she's going to socials where she gets her little drink. She gets 7-Up and rum, like a half shot or whatever in 7-Up. They have happy hour every day, and she's playing cards and she's going to watching movies, and she's they have like what's the thing they have in New Orleans? Mardi Gras the other day, and like she's just having a blast, which is amazing. So anyways, she had to move there. So I called my dad. No, he wouldn't help. I called my cousins. Nope, they wouldn't help. Called my sisters. Nope, they wouldn't help. They're all too busy. So you know who moved my grandmother? My father-in-law, my husband's stepmom, my husband's sister, her husband, and a couple of my friends. My whole family turned their back on my grandmother. It was lovely. So after I called my dad to say, can you help Grammie? So this would have been right after we accepted it. So we had 72 hours to move. And my dad said no because he had an excuse because of my mom, which doesn't surprise me. I guess my mom found out. And so my mom took her ass up there when my dad was at work, and she beat the fuck out of my grandmother and put her in the hospital for 5 days. We almost lost her placement because of it, because she couldn't move in within the 72 hours because she was in the hospital. And then they're like, oh, well, she's hospitalized. She can't come into this program because she's too high needs. Because, like I said, she's not in a nursing home. But I explained that, well, I told them that she just fell. And the doctor was willing to say, like, you know, she would be out in the inside of a week. So we were able to keep the placement. So now I have to go to the courts here where I live and file a restraining order for my grandmother. And then hopefully I don't have to go home. Hopefully we don't have to testify. She had a restraining order that expired in the summer of last year. So she had one from July of 2015 to June 30th, 2016. I went in June to try to get it extended. My mother hadn't broken it, so they said, no, we can't extend it. So this time, just the piece that I saw said, this is ridiculous. Your grandmother is very elderly. She shouldn't have to worry about this. So we're going for a blanket restraining order for the rest of her life. For the rest, that's what's called, a blanket restraining order for the rest of your natural life. So my grandmother doesn't have to worry about it. And I'm really hopeful that now that she has staff there all the time, that once we get this secured, we did get a 45-day emergency one. And the staff have been really good about it. They wouldn't talk to me about it. Because of the confidentiality piece. But anyways, we're hoping that she will be able to take some solace in the fact that there will be a end of life one on her. So that's kind of everything rolled up into a very fast video, even though it is 33 minutes. Life has been shit. I am trying to take each day as it comes. I'm trying to be grateful, thankful for everything that I have. Be grateful that I still can get out of bed. Be grateful that I am not so mentally ill that I need to be hospitalized. Be grateful that I'm not physically to the point where I have to be hospitalized. Be grateful that my Grammie got a placement. Be grateful that I've been looking at some new jobs and some new opportunities, and hopefully they will all work out, or something will work out. Be grateful I have an amazing mental health team. Be grateful I have an amazing husband. I have an amazing support team. But at the end of the day, remembering all those things sometimes can be difficult. And at the end of the day, sometimes it feels like all that is not enough. So anyways, I do make a pledge to try to bring more videos on a regular basis. I do plan to do a series about mental health and addiction, and a series about my physical health. There are some questions that have been asked to me about the cats, like how I do their evening night medication routine, which is actually was taped during those vlogs I talked about earlier. So I'm going to break that out and send that or post that. I've realized over the last little while that people don't realize that we lost 2 cats last year. People have been asking about those cats, so I'm going to do a video about that, explaining that. But I'm just going to try to stay more connected, because although this is talking to a tablet, is what I'm talking to you on right now, it does help me to feel connected. It does help me to feel purpose. So I'll talk to you guys all again really, really soon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please remember to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys all in my next video. Bye, guys.